Hi, welcome to Hit Path. I'm Spank Green. Oh wait, no, I'm Sean Green. Today we're going to talk about The Great Gatsby, and warning, spoilers ahead for this 95-year-old book. The Great Gatsby is a story written from the perspective of a guy named Nick, the human equivalent of a flat Coca-Cola who goes to visit his cousin Daisy and her friend Jordan. Jordan is a cynical liar, so naturally her and Nick start dating throughout the book, really beating the odds considering their lack of chemistry. Nick also meets Tom, Daisy's aggressive husband, Myrtle, Tom's energetic mistress, Wilson, Myrtle's tired husband, and Gatsby, who has no relation to any of them. Gatsby is Nick's neighbor, and he invites Nick to one of his weekly extravagant parties, where guests spend their time speculating about who Gatsby is and where he got his money. You see, Gatsby doesn't make much of an appearance at these parties. They're all actually a big elaborate show to attract the attention of the girl with the green glowing duck across the lake who just happens to be Nick's cousin Daisy. Gatsby eventually befriends Nick and introduces him to some of his mafia friends, who are definitely not where he got all his money from, and gets Nick to reintroduce him and Daisy by inviting her to tea. Daisy and Gatsby reunite for the first time since he went to war, and eventually they, along with Nick, Tom, and Jordan, go on a day trip to New York City. There, Gatsby confronts Tom about his and Daisy's love. They drive home when Daisy hits Myrtle with Gatsby's car. Wilson, thinking Gatsby did it, goes to his house and shoots him, while Tom and Daisy quietly disappear. In the end, the rich people can do whatever they want while the poor suffer, and Nick just sort of watches. To explore this further, let's go over to the Brain Blender. Well, I guess whatever was going on there was supposed to represent the American dream, which is the main theme of the book. Each character represents a different part of the American dream. Tom and Daisy, for example, are at the very top. Tom was born into his money, and Daisy married him. They have everything they could want except for happiness, as they've done everything they could possibly do with their lives. Meanwhile, on the other end of the ladder, Wilson works himself to death, while Tom takes advantage of him by promising to sell him his car, while he's actually just sleeping with his wife. To simplify the whole point, they're all experiencing the American dream, and none of them are happy. Wait, where's my little thought bubble guy? Where have you been? I need cute little visuals.
So, I'm going on strike.
What? Why?
You don't pay me.
You are literally just a visual gag.
I don't get appreciated.
Whatever, here, does $3 work?
I don't have concept of money, so yeah, sure.
Okay, you better appear and do funny stuff.
Yeah, I'll do something really funny.
Where were we? Oh yeah, the Jazz Age. The Great Gatsby is from a time known for fancy dressing, high-class parties, and of course, jazz. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, "It was an age of miracles, it was an age of art, it was an age of excess, and it was an age of satire." I don't know why he sounds like that. But does this legacy of the 1920s distort our memories of what really happened? Of course it does. None of us were alive. During this time, laborers, especially farmers, were forced to flock to the cities to work in factories. While this meant most people had more money and more things to spend it on, it also meant the norm for lower-class people was to spend long hours in bad work environments. In The Great Gatsby, the main characters are all rich, or at least well off, but we also see glimpses of more impoverished areas, such as the Valley of Ashes. The Valley of Ashes is a town heavily polluted by the ashes from nearby factories. It's run down, populated by poor working-class citizens, and represents the aspects of the 1920s that rich people ignored. This ties back to the theme of the American dream. Many probably see dressing in cool clothes and drinking, which was pretty un-American considering it was illegal at the time, as living the American dream, but every fancy 1920s party has a Valley of Ashes somewhere in the background. Okay, what are you doing?
I'm doing funny stuff.
Dial it back, you're distracting everyone.
Okay, sorry. Here's $1 back.
Okay. Next, let's talk about the author of The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. He was a depressed alcoholic with a wife he considered the first American flapper. Flappers were a social movement in the 1920s where women tried to prove they had knees and wouldn't melt if they listened to jazz music. The Great Gatsby wasn't actually very popular until after Fitzgerald died. I guess everyone was too busy partying to read in 1925. It's said that The Great Gatsby was based on his own lifestyle, but I'm not sure I believe that. You see, Fitzgerald lived in France at the time he wrote the book, and the book is about the American dream, and that's as deep as that thought goes. But when you combine alcoholics and the French, you get Scotty F's best friend Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway and Fitzgerald were both part of the Lost Generation, war veterans in the 1920s who were disillusioned from the American dream by World War I. Many great writers came from this generation, and they all lived in France and drank all the time.
Sean, I'm leaving. I gotta Pixar cast me for Inside Out 2. I'm Thought Guy.
What? Okay, well, I guess that's a series wrap on Thought Bubble Guy. You can keep the $2.
Yeah, I'm like super rich now.
All right, just please leave. I want to finish this. I don't need him anyway. I have the brain blaster or whatever it's called. Let's do that again. All right, so next we're going to talk about the main character, Nick. Okay, turn it off. Turn it off. So all these characters represent different aspects of the American dream, a heavily criticized idea at the time. But if that's true, then what does our boring upper-middle-class main character Nick represent? I mean, he doesn't have any known struggles, but he isn't antagonistic either, is he? Well, he sort of is. Throughout the book, Nick narrates his friends doing some bad stuff. Tom palm strikes Myrtle and breaks her nose. Tom cheats on his wife to begin with. Tom's also pretty racist. Okay, it's mostly Tom who Nick witnesses doing bad stuff, but the point is Nick's always a completely neutral narrator, even when he can't intervene. Ah, yes, then I witnessed my good pal Tom break his mistress's nose out of rage. Then we got ice cream. Then I hung out at his house and watched vacantly as he yelled at his wife. Then the next day we played mini-golf. So Nick really isn't a good person, but what does that say for the American dream? Well, I think Nick represents America itself. Nick witnesses the downfall of others and never does anything to intervene if it can harm himself. His mind is as much a setting for the story as is America. This shows that though people think the setting of America will make their dream come true, it's nothing but a bystander to their downfall, a setting for their failures to take place. Or Nick is just the narrator. I miss Thought Bubble Guy. Oh. You're back!
Yeah, I just forgot something.
Wow, that was a funny visual gag. Alright, let's finish this up. Let's see, we talked about the theme, we talked about the Jazz Age, Effie, Scotty Fitz, Nick, what else? Oh right, Gatsby. Is he great? Not really. In fact, that's the first thing Nick realizes about him as he gets to know him. For example, Nick says, "My first impression that he was a person of some undefined consequence and gradually faded, and he had become simply the proprietor of an elaborate roadhouse next door." The title, The Great Gatsby, refers more towards his whole allure, his mysterious aura for which the public recognizes him and he spent many years building up. He is seen as the ideal American dream. He's a mysterious and faraway figure of a man who worked to build his wealth and now lives a lavish and happy lifestyle. In reality, everything about him is fake, including his eccentric name, which he made up. When he dies, only the few people who knew the real Gatsby, the Gatsby he tried to hide from the world, show up to his funeral. To everyone else, he leaves nothing but the allure of the Great Gatsby. Thank you for watching. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back senselessly into the past.